Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture the person who annoys you the most. You got them in your head? Good. Because what's really fascinating here is that the intense irritation you feel toward them is, well, it's highly likely to be a mirror reflecting your very own hidden flaws. I know. It's a tough pill to swallow, right? But understanding exactly why this happens is literally the first step toward true self-mastery.
So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're basically going on an internal hero's journey straight through the legendary psychiatrist Carl Jung's architecture of the mind. Together, we're going to uncover how acknowledging and integrating our dark side, those parts of ourselves we desperately try to hide, is actually the absolute key to maturity, professional success, and genuine psychological wholeness.
And here's our roadmap for today. We're covering, first, map of the psyche, second, the masks we wear, third, meeting your shadow, fourth, the danger of projection, and finally, doing the shadow work. Let's get right into it. Starting with Section 1, Map of the Psyche, Charting the Human Mind. Now, to understand why we self-sabotage or, why we sometimes do things we totally regret later, we first have to look at our inner landscape. Jung defined the ego as the center of our conscious experience. It's basically the you that you're aware of, the part of you picking out your outfit today or sending that completely mundane office email. It holds your active thoughts and lets you wake up every single morning with a consistent sense of identity. Honestly, you can think of the ego as the public relations rep of your mind. But right beneath that surface-level ego lies the personal unconscious, which is where all your forgotten memories hang out. And beneath that, Jung discovered something completely mind-blowing, the collective unconscious. If you contrast your tiny, surface-level ego with the sheer, massive scale of this, it's incredible. It's essentially an inherited mental library shared by absolutely all of humanity, regardless of your culture or what time period you live in. And this perfectly leads us into the concept of archetypes. If the collective unconscious is a library, well, archetypes are the books we all share. These are universal character blueprints deeply embedded in our minds. Think the activist, the explorer, the rebel, the hero. We inherently recognize these patterns just intuitively because they stem from our shared ancestral past. Moving right along to Section 2, the masks we wear, understanding the persona. So the word persona actually comes from the Latin word for the masks worn by actors in ancient Roman theater. And that's exactly what it is for us too. It's the carefully constructed interface between our inner world and our outer presentation to society. The crucial point we need to make here is the difference between a healthy, flexible mask that actually serves us versus an unhealthy, rigid mask that totally imprisons us. A healthy persona lets you be, say, super professional in a boardroom, but then playful with your kids without losing your authentic self. An unhealthy persona, though, that's when you rigidly identify with just one single role, like the perfect employee, where you're constantly seeking external validation and avoiding responsibility when things inevitably go wrong. It completely stunts your growth. Which brings us to Section 3, Meeting Your Shadow, the Disowned Self. This is where we descend into the underworld of the mind. See, whenever we over-identify with our public mask, we simultaneously repress its dark counterpart, the shadow. This holds all the primitive, socially unacceptable traits we just refuse to see in ourselves. The poet Robert Bly used this fantastic metaphor for it. He said that as children, when we express anger or selfishness and get scolded by parents or teachers, it threatens our basic human needs for safety and belonging. So to adapt, the child takes all those discouraged traits, stuffs them into an invisible bag, and literally drags it behind them for the rest of their life. But here is the terrifying part. Those unexamined parts, they do not go away just because you shoved them in a bag. If we ignore it, we end up suffering the fate of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Remember, Dr. Jekyll tried to completely cut himself off from his darker impulses, and because of that, he couldn't control Mr. Hyde. When we're entirely divorced from our dark side, our conscious self just goes on autopilot, and our unconscious shadow steps right in to self-sabotage, pushing away the exact people and success we actually want. Let's look at Section 4. The danger of projection, seeing the shadow in others. So, what exactly happens to all that repressed energy festering away in the invisible bag? Well, because the ego wants to protect its shiny self-image at all costs, it has a brilliantly sneaky defense mechanism. Jung pointed out that an unconscious person basically acts blindly, seeing everything they refuse to acknowledge in themselves as projections coming from outside, coming from other people.
In psychoanalysis, this means we literally take the qualities we bury deep inside us and project them onto our spouses, our colleagues, or even that random driver who cut us off in traffic. It completely distorts our reality. I actually want you to take a second and actively reflect right now. Think about a recent interaction where you completely overreacted. If a colleague's arrogance or rudeness just totally set you off, is it possible that you simply haven't owned your own capacity for arrogance or rudeness? Now, it doesn't mean they weren't rude. They might have been. But if you didn't have that exact trait hidden in your own shadow, their behavior wouldn't have triggered such a massive emotional charge in you. Now for Section 5, Doing the Shadow Work, the Path to Wholeness. This call to adventure demands that we stop projecting our flaws onto everyone else and finally start integrating them. This is the triumphant return of our psychological journey. Now, opening that invisible bag isn't popular, and I promise you, it is not easy. But doing it unlocks profound, life-changing benefits. Just think about how exhausting it is to drag a heavy bag around all day, every day. When you stop using all your mental energy to repress your shadow, you unlock enhanced physical health, far greater internal strength, and immense creativity. You stop being so reactive at work and in your relationships because, finally, you're seeing yourself and others clearly. To get started with this, you can use integral philosopher Ken Wilber's 3-2-1 shadow process. Step 1. Face it. Take that person who constantly triggers you and describe their annoying qualities out loud. Step 2. Talk to it. Have an actual imaginary dialogue with them. Ask them, hey, what are you trying to show me? And then step 3, which is definitely the hardest part, be it. Embody those exact traits. Say, I am angry or I am selfish. I know it feels incredibly awkward, but you are actively reclaiming the exact traits you've been denying for years. This active, moral effort to accept both your light and your darkness leads to what Jung called individuation. And this is the ultimate reward of human development. It's the lifelong psychological process of becoming your true, authentic self. You aren't changing who you fundamentally are at all. You're just dismantling that rigid, false persona and bringing all your inner contradictions into a harmonious, beautifully balanced whole. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one final thought to deeply ponder. If true maturity, success, and wholeness require you to accept your entire self, flaws, darkness, and all, what are you still dragging around in your invisible bag? It might just be time to finally open it up. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next one.